these people from the northwest frontier province of British India, now Pakistan, and then Afghanistan, now celebrate the fact that they celebrate the exploits of people like Khalid bin Walid, who was a major Muslim warrior. Khalid is named after that warrior. His namesake, Khalid bin Walid. So, I mean, these Muslim armies that came across the borders of Iran and Afghanistan would, of course, cross through this Khyber Pass into India. And, of course, this would give rise to the planting of Islam in northern India. And today you find the people who live in Pakistan and India who are Muslims can trace their roots to some of those soldiers who came from the Muslim armies. And you have major centers of learning, just like in West Africa, as we were talking about. You have towns that were created by Hindus many years ago, but you have new towns that were created by these Muslim armies and traders. Mansuria, Lucknow, and many others that you find in northern part of India. Now, this becomes very important in terms of the development of Islam in that part of the world. Now, of course, the Islam that came into the area would be the Islam that came overland. Just like in Africa again, Islam did not only come across the Sahara in the case of Africa, but Islam came across the Khyber Pass into northern. But then Islam also came by boat to India, because you have those Arabs who were traveling. Long before Islam, Arabs were traveling by boats along the quote-unquote Persian or Arabian Gulf. It's controversial. Some Arabs don't like the word Persian Gulf. So some of us call it the Islamic Gulf. So, like this way, in that region called the Persian Gulf, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and Bahrain, and all that area, these people you have Arab tribes living in that region. And of course, many of them were involved in pearl fishing, trying to get pearls in that part of the world. Many of them were nomadic peoples. But with Islam, and even before Islam, the Greeks and the Romans knew the area. So, and the Persians, the Iranians, civilization, the Sassanid. Now, Arab traders traveled by boat to India. And of course, in that way, you had connections. The same thing will happen in the case of Indonesia and China. Those Arab traders will go to those parts of the world. Now, the point I want to make with regard to India is that Indian civilization is very old, thousands of years. And of course, when the Muslims came into the area, other civilizations and cultures have also visited that area. I mean, they didn't stay long, but they came in. People like Alexander the Great is well known. They came into the area, northern India, not southern India, northern India. So when the Muslims came into the area, they started from northern India. And of course, Muslim power did not spread to the whole subcontinent of India. It was basically a northern experience. And of course, there were Muslims who moved south. But if you look at today, even in India today, you'll find that the majority of the Muslims are concentrated in certain geographic zones. And this is likely because of the pattern of penetration of Islam in that part of the world. And of course, you have a history of military forces. In this case, Muslim armies came, and they did conquer. But you have a big role for Muslim scholars and Muslim merchants, because they were into the spice trade. And the spice trade and all the other goodies that came out of India went west, because India became a very important thoroughfare in that trade between the east and the west, north and the south. And of course, Indian knowledge was also transmitted to West Asia, not only in the field of medicine, astronomy, but in mathematics. And that's one of the reasons why today we borrow from the Indians what is called the Arabic zero. It came from India, but it was popularized in the West by the Muslims. So it's now identified as the Arabic numerals, because the Arabic numerals carry to the West the concept of a zero. We wouldn't have computers today if that civilizational knowledge was not borrowed from the Arabs by way of the Indians. You see, so that is the part of the knowledge transfer that took place as a result of this dialogue between the Islamic civilization on the one hand and the Hindu civilization in India on the other.